If you want to know which careers will grow over the next 5 years, you can read job market reports. You can follow LinkedIn trends, or you can listen to thought leaders making predictions. Or you can do something simpler and more reliable. You can follow the money. Not venture capital, that follows hype cycles. Not government grants, they follow politics. I mean institutional investment capital. The kind that gets approved by boards, backed by AAA credit ratings and deployed into the real economy at scale. The European Investment Bank is operating under a 3-year plan for 2026 to 2028. 100 billion euros per year. 77 billion inside the European Union alone. Approved, allocated, moving. In one of the previous videos, I gave you a 4-step framework for reading any regulation into a career signal. Today, I'm doing the same with capital allocation. I'm Anastasia, I read European Union regulations for a living, and capital allocation documents like this one. Let me show you what I see. Imagine this, a single investment bank sitting inside the European Union institutional architecture committed to deploying 100 billion euros every year for the next 3 years. That is not a forecast, it is a contractual obligation. Now picture your industry, your sector, your company. Somewhere in that 100 billion is a capital flow that either comes into your organization or goes to a competitor. The only question is whether you can see where it's going before the rest of the market does. The European Investment Bank doesn't invest randomly. It operates under a strategic roadmap. And when you strip away the institutional language, the capital flows into 4 major areas. Let me walk you through each one and translate the investment priorities into what it means on the ground. Bucket 1. Sustainable energy and natural resources. 34 billion euros per year. This is the single largest allocation. The reason is not ideology, it is cost structure. Picture this, a mid-sized European manufacturer, energy bills are 5% of their turnover. Their competitor in the United States pays half of that. Their competitor in China pays a third. That gap, compounded over years, is the difference between expanding and going under. That is what 34 billion in sustainable energy means. It's not a climate program, it is industrial survival. Within this bucket, 2 flagship programs stand out. The Water Resilience Program, 5 billion in 2026 alone, and the Small and Medium Enterprise Energy Efficiency Program, almost 6 billion. These are not pilots, they are industrial scale deployment. Bucket 2. Tech, European Union, Innovation and Digital. 25 billion in 2026. And the goal is to mobilize 250 billion by the end of 2027. The areas are clean tech, artificial intelligence, quantum computing, biotech, digital infrastructure, critical raw materials, and defense tech. Consider this problem. Europe invests. America and China scale. The European Union watches technologies it developed get commercialized somewhere else. Tech European Union is the financier architecture built specifically to fix that. It includes venture debt, the European Tech Champions Initiative, 2 billion dedicated to critical raw materials alone, extraction, processing, refining, recycling and substitution, the full value chain, directly aligned with the Critical Raw Materials Act. Bucket 3. Small and medium enterprises and mid-cap finance. 21 billion. 90% of European companies are small and medium enterprises. They account for 65% of total employment. The European Investment Bank finances them through intermediate lending, credit lines through banks, guarantees, securitization. This is how capital reaches the smaller companies that actually employ Europe. Bucket 4. Sustainable cities and regions. 21 billion. Social infrastructure, urban development, affordable housing. 6 billion specifically for housing. Modular construction, renovation, new energy-efficient buildings. Agriculture and bioeconomy financing like food security, climate adaptation, bio-based innovation, It's distributed across this and the small and medium enterprise bucket. That is where the money goes. But here is what most people miss when they read these allocations. When capital flows this aggressively into 4 directions at once, it creates growth corridors for some sectors and compression zones for others. Some companies will ride this wave, others will quietly get squeezed out, and I will show you both. When this much institutional money moves, it doesn't just fund existing companies, it restructures entire sectors. Let me start with the growth signals. Defense and dual-use technology. If your product serves both civilian and military purposes, you are now bankable in ways that didn't exist 2 years ago. The investment bank has created an entirely new financing category for this. Clean tech manufacturing, like batteries, renewable energy systems, green hydrogen, industrial decarbonization. A minimum of 50% of all European Investment Bank lending goes to green finance. It's not a target, it is a minimum. Critical raw materials value chain. Extraction, processing, recycling and substitution. 2 billion allocated. Companies that reduce European dependency on third country materials have a direct financing pathway. Digital sovereignty infrastructure. European cloud services, quantum computing, AI gigafactories, semiconductor manufacturing. Tech European Union is designed to make these fundable at scale. And advisory and regulatory navigation services. The investment bank itself is scaling advisory to 430 new assignments in 2026. Companies that help others access and navigate this capital, consultancies, compliance specialists, project development companies, they grow because the ecosystem needs support. Now the pressure points, because when capital flows this aggressively in one direction, it creates compression elsewhere. Non-European supply chain dependency. Strategic autonomy requirements are forcing shorter, more European supply chains. If your business depends on third country components without alternatives, your procurement cost structure is about to get more expensive. Compliance cost escalation. Every European Investment Bank finance project must meet ESG documentation requirements under CSRD. Defense adjacent projects face elevated data security requirements, and the reporting burden increases, despite the simplification rhetoric. And now the third pressure point. This one is different from the others. The investment bank itself flags it in its own document. And it is the single most important career signal in the entire plan. Picture this. 100 billion euros is allocated. The projects are approved. The funding is available. And the companies that should execute on them cannot find the engineers, analysts and specialists to actually deliver. The capital is there, the talent is not. That is what the European Investment Bank calls the talent bottleneck. High specialized competence in digital transformation, clean tech and regulatory navigation is a binding constraint on project delivery, which means demand for these professionals will push salaries up. It means career mobility accelerates, and it means that professionals who are qualified command pricing power, while companies without them cannot execute on the funding they receive. I will show you exactly which roles are inside that bottleneck in the next section. Now the most important part. If capital creates companies and companies create roles, what roles specifically are we talking about? Let me walk you through 8 sectors that are growing and the professionals they will need. 1. Energy infrastructure, 34 billion allocated. Massive build-out of grids, storage, renewable generation. The companies executing this need power systems engineers, grid modeling specialists, energy traders, hydrogen systems engineers, battery storage specialists, and regulatory affairs analysts. 2. Defense and security technology, 4.5 billion and growing. The fastest growing category in the entire plan. Companies here are now receiving venture debt, equity investment, and dedicated credit lines. The roles? Systems engineers, embedded software developers, electronics engineers, export compliance specialists, defense procurement managers, cybersecurity architects,
satellite communications engineers. 3. Clean tech manufacturing. The Clean Industrial Deal and Net Zero Industry Act are the policy frameworks. The European Investment Bank is the financing mechanism. Companies scaling clean tech in Europe need people who understand both the technology and the regulatory environment. Process engineers, life cycle assessment specialists, electrochemists, European Union taxonomy compliance officers, specialists within eco-design for sustainable products regulation and digital product passport, circular economy managers, and industrial decarbonizations lead. 4. Digital infrastructure and AI. Tech European Union explicitly targets AI, quantum computing, and digital infrastructure. This is where the talent bottleneck is most acute. AI and machine learning engineers, quantum computing researchers, data center engineers, cloud infrastructure architects, cybersecurity engineers, digital sovereignty compliance specialists, and semiconductor process engineers. 5. Construction and housing. 6 billion for housing. The European Investment Bank is financing 3 things: innovation, like new materials and industrialized construction methods; 2. Renovation, making existing stock energy efficient; and 3. New build, expanding supply of affordable, low-carbon homes. The roles that are needed: BIM specialists, modular construction managers, building physics engineers, energy performance assessors, circular material sourcing specialists. 6. Agriculture and bioeconomy. 6.2 billion. Food security, climate adaptation, young farmer access to finance, bio-based product innovation, agronomists with digital skills, bioprocess engineers, climate risk modelers, agricultural finance specialists, and agri-food tech developers.
7. Critical raw materials. 2 billion allocated. Reducing European dependency on third country raw materials. Metallurgists, recycling process engineers, supply chain compliance specialists, geologists, environmental impact assessors, material substitution R&D specialists. 8. Financial intermediaries and advisory. This is the infrastructure that moves the money. Qualifying for investment bank-backed financing requires alignment with European Union policy goals, climate impact documentation, and navigation of complex applications. The professionals who build that alignment are in growing demand, like green finance credit analysts, European Union funding application writers, sustainability due diligence specialists, ESG reporting specialists. And one role that sits across almost all of these: the digital product passport lead. This role I introduced in one of the previous videos. And this is because every clean tech product, every battery, every piece of critical raw materials infrastructure financed by this capital eventually need digital product passport compliance. And here's the pattern that emerges when you read the entire plan through a career lens. The roles that are growing all share 3 characteristics. They require domain expertise combined with regulatory competence. They require the ability to translate between technical, financial, and policy language. And they require an understanding of European strategic priorities, not as an abstract policy, but as a concrete market access conditions. And the talent bottleneck the European Investment Bank identified, it is not a footnote in the report. It is the single most important career signal in the entire document. Because when 100 billion euros is looking for qualified people to deploy it and cannot find enough, the professionals who are qualified command pricing power, career mobility, and strategic influence. And the ones who are not qualified watch from the sideline while the market restructures around them. Here is what I would do with this information if I were managing my career right now. Take the 4 capital buckets I walked you through. Identify which one or which intersection of 2 is close to your current expertise. Then apply the 4 questions from my video about 30+ European Union regulations that are reshaping your career. First question: what must businesses do differently because of this investment? What competences are needed? Which roles will need those competences? And where is the gap between what exists now and what will be needed? That analysis will tell you more about your next 3 years than any performance review will. 100 billion euros per year. 4 capital buckets, 8 sectors with structural talent shortages. The money is already moving. The question is whether the talent follows it or arrives late.